Good afternoon. I'm Bill Etzler, Chair of the Environmental Rules Board, and we do have a quorum, so we'll call the meeting to order. First, I would like to introduce our new commissioner, Mr. Wood. Welcome. Appreciate it. Second, I would like the board members to introduce yourselves and tell us what segment you represent, please. We'll start with you.
Rick Sarah from Northeast Indiana. I represent the construction industry.
My name is Chris Horn. I represent labor and I'm out of Southeast Indiana.
Calvin Davidson, solid waste. Bill Etzler, I'm from Fort Wayne and I represent small business.
I'm Joanne Alexandrovich, Vanderburgh County in Evansville, and I represent local government.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Nelson. I'm the Deputy Director of the Indiana State Department of Agriculture, and I represent the seat.
Eli Meckler with the Indiana Economic Development Commission representing Secretary.
And then those members that are Dr. Mimic, if you'd start.
This is Ted Nemec here representing healthcare.
Good afternoon, Carrie Kozerski representing energy utilities.
Good afternoon. This is Ryan Miller representing Department of Natural Resources, sitting in for Director Alan Morrison.
John, would you like to introduce yourself?
First of all, I want to apologize for being late. But my name is John Ketzenberger. I represent the Environment and Nature Conservancy.
And we'd also like to introduce our new Chief of Staff, Hillary. Thank you all. So we'll call the meeting to order with March 12th, 2025 meeting of the Environmental Rules Board. We do have a quorum present. Our first order of business today is the approval of the meeting summary from December 11th.
The chat says that the audio is still really difficult to hear online, so we may need to make sure we're speaking into the mics better.
I'll second that motion.
Sorry, this is Jamie Brown. It looks like the wrong date was included on the meeting minutes. Unless I'm reading this wrong.
Yep.
It is correct on there. We put March 12th, day, below we are December 11th.
December 11th, meeting minutes. Meeting summary from December. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And the summary is next we'll call on Commissioner Woods.
Thanks so much, Chairman Etzler and for members of the board. So my name is Clint Woods. I just started a little bit over a month ago as the commissioner here at IDEM. I really appreciate you all taking the time to help us provide us with advice and a number of different perspectives as guided by the General Assembly as we go through our rulemaking process for a couple of important rules. I wanted to just maybe share a few highlights from my first month and a week or so on the job. I know I've had a chance to meet with a number of you, get out to some of your communities. We still have some work to do. As mentioned, we've got a new chief of staff, Hillary Allred, who previously was our chief financial officer. We got a number of other important changes in our office. We'll have a new general counsel starting soon. Our former comptroller, Brianna Towler, is now our new chief financial officer. I've got a new legislative director, Jake Torrey, and others, and folks that are hard at work at the products that you see in terms of rulemaking, but then also the tip of the spear as it relates to engagement with communities throughout Indiana, across our permitting functions in air, land, and water. And I'm just excited to be here. I'm coming most recently from Columbus, Ohio. I've been there the last 5 years. Where I worked in the private sector, done a few other things. But before that, I worked at US EPA as a deputy assistant administrator for air and radiation, and then worked on Capitol Hill for a bit on the Science, Space, and Technology Committee, and previously had run a group of state air agencies, including IDEM, local agencies, the Association of Air Pollution Control Agencies, with a few other things in between. So I'm new to Indiana, new to IDEM, but not new to a lot of the issues. And actually started my career working for the RV Industry Association. So there's some good Hoosier manufacturing that I got to know early on and spent a lot of time in Elkhart County. So really thrilled to be here to be part of Governor Braun's administration. I wanted to maybe just provide a few quick highlights of some items that I thought may be of interest. One being, obviously, we've got a lot of transitions here in Indiana, but also in Washington, D.C. that affect IDEM's work. Governor Braun came in with a lot of energy and some new changes. So we're part of a new vertical reporting up to Secretary Susie Jaworowski, our Secretary of Energy and Natural Resources. So this new structure, from our perspective, is great. We've got 10 agencies and quasi-agencies within our vertical, handling everything from natural resources with the Department of Natural Resources and the White River State Park Commission, some agriculture issues with the Board of Animal Health, as well as the State Chemist's Office, Seed Commissioner, energy issues with the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission and the Office of the Consumers Council. So I think some tremendous opportunities for us to break down silos, obviously agencies that we've worked with extensively in the past, but to have an even closer relationship, one that allows us to speak with one voice as an executive branch of government, and to help bridge those gaps on these cross-cutting issues as it relates to even some of the topics we're here to talk about today. So really excited about that. We also have some connective tissue between IDEM and our vertical. Our former Chief of Staff, Parvene Stover, is now Secretary Jaworowski's Chief of Staff. So that's great for us. Obviously, recognizing talent and having folks who know about our agency. The second area I just wanted to cover real quickly is some happenings with the General Assembly. Obviously, we're right in the thick of things with our session. And a couple of high priority items for us. Our agency bill is related to water cybersecurity, trying to address some potential vulnerabilities, particularly in smaller water systems and water treatment facilities throughout the state. That bill was passed out of the Senate. It's being considered by the House in the near future, but helps to ensure that IDEM and the Indiana Office of Technology are notified when there's a cybersecurity event, that there's not super burdensome, but very critical assessments of cybersecurity vulnerability, making sure that people have passwords that are better than password in their systems, and help to close some gaps for facilities that are a unique threat for cybersecurity and hackers from around the world. Also been some interest in our combined feeding operation program and the frequency with which we conduct inspections. And some legislation that Chairman Niemeyer has been pursuing, and a lot of interest in a number of other areas, continued interest on emerging chemicals like PFAS, and a few other topics. So I wanted to just give you an update. Obviously, we're part of the way through the session. Tomorrow, we'll be presenting to the Senate Appropriations Committee on our budget, which includes a small overall reduction with some significant investments in things like new and revised, it's actually an older system, but one that we're dramatically refreshing called Tempo, which is an environmental central data hub. Several other state agencies around the country use it, but really designed to try to get all of our data systems and legacy systems across air, water, and land speaking to each other, sharing information that allows us to really move into the 21st and hopefully 22nd century as an agency. And I'm really excited about the progress we have there. We are looking at several opportunities and challenges. We have a number of executive orders that were signed in the first few days of office by Governor Braun for everything from reducing regulation, becoming more competitive with other states in our region, looking at opportunities to make sure we're identifying metrics and sharing data across agencies, and also important things related to our personnel, including getting people back to the office by July. So some challenges, but also some opportunities. We're very excited. We're looking also at some opportunities for developing memoranda of understanding with key agencies where we have important intersections on everything from avian influenza to opportunities to share data with various offices, to some ways to work smarter around some of our major fund programs that help provide resources for key environmental improvements. So very excited about some opportunities presented there, but also some challenges as it relates to making sure that we're getting the most bang for our buck as it relates to taxpayer dollars for items, key priorities. And with that, I think we're having a very good discussion about how, as an agency, we are attracting and retaining, growing, and thinking about succession for our workforce. And so we've had some very good conversations with an extended leadership team around how we create an item of the future as one team, that we break down those silos even between the media offices, but also with our 4 regional offices, as well as our laboratories in Shadeland. So some really exciting stuff. And then ultimately, I think how we measure our success is a very thorough discussion we're having about, what is the right way to measure things we're really, really good at, like permitting and compliance efficiency, but also how do we tell more stories and make further progress as it relates to air, water, and land improvement that we're really proud of here, and that I think we have opportunities to do even more. And then finally, I think some opportunities with our federal counterparts, US EPA, as well as other parts of the federal government. Some major transitions happening there. Even today, we've had a few announcements. Governor Braun signed a couple of executive orders on environmental matters, and EPA apparently, Administrator Zeldin, who was confirmed recently, announced this morning on Twitter, or whatever we're calling it these days, it would be the greatest day in deregulation in history. So they made some announcements related to waters of the U.S. It sounds like a handful of other announcements coming, which obviously affect items, programs, as with any of our major environmental laws. It's a framework of cooperative federalism, where our partners at EPA, with delegation from Congress, are setting generally national standards, helping to oversee permitting programs, but ultimately a lot of the responsibility falls to us. And so I think there's some great opportunities and some new faces at EPA to make sure we've got some certainty around those national standards, around certainty for grant programs that IDEM relies on for a lot of our activities. And so we're looking forward to opportunities to share, make sure we've got a seat at the table, which includes not only identifying opportunities to work together, but also speaking frankly as friends with our colleagues at EPA when we think they've got the wrong priorities. So we're still waiting to hear about a few key roles, including the Region 5, so our regional administrator, which is based in Chicago, who that person is going to be as a political appointee, but a number of the other offices have been filled and are going through the confirmation process, including obviously the head of the agency, the deputy administrator, the lead person, so the assistant administrator for the offices of water, air, and their legal counsel. And a handful of the regional administrators in other parts of the U.S. have been announced, but obviously more to come in that space. So looking forward to really building a strong relationship with our federal counterparts that I think will position Indiana to be a premier environmental agency in the U.S., both in terms of our environmental performance, how we outcompete other states, and frankly show an example for how the federal government can improve some of their environmental programs. Very excited about all those activities, and I'll just say I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for the time that you dedicate to IDEM, to the Environmental Rules Board. I'll just mention one other area that we are really excited to provide some more clarity and certainty around. So one is, we're still working with the governor's office as it relates to various boards and commissions across the agencies. We're not alone. I think there's something like in excess of 15,000 folks serving on various boards and commissions throughout Indiana. But trying to make sure we get some clarity. Obviously, the Environmental Rules Board is directed very clearly by the General Assembly, how it operates, what it does. It emanates from what used to be an air, water, and lands pollution control boards that have been consolidated in the Environmental Rules Board. But we're going through a process to go back to basics, looking at Title 13 of the Indiana Code, making sure we're getting it right across a suite of issues. But one of those that we're starting in the very near future is related to our boards and commissions, making sure our process makes sense, that we're getting you all the information you need in advance, that we're providing certainty. And so obviously that will involve sharing some more information as the governor ultimately makes decisions about appointments and everything else. But we've been in close contact with them about the important work of the Environmental Rules Board. And so just wanted to share that I think we're taking a proactive approach to making sure we have you as a tremendous resource to get perspective on our rulemaking. And then I think that also extends to a number of other areas, how we do public hearings across our programs, how we're looking at how we approach enforcement activities, how we tackle a handful of other topics that are common to each of our programs, but it may be good to take a fresh look at the direction we got from the General Assembly and how we carry out those things. I'm really thrilled that you all are here. Thank you for the time and dedication and effort reading these rules that sometimes can be a little bit arcane, but really appreciate you all weighing in, and happy to maybe pause there with my great appreciation to see if there may be any questions or comments.
Any questions?
I do. Sure. You may not, or you may know the answer to this, because that one of the executive orders signed this morning was about more stringent then, and I think we have a law on the Indiana books that if there's some emergency or something, we go to the, some office up there to say that we could move forward. Does that remain in effect? Or is it like really hardcore? We can't do anything other than that sound?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you're right, and my reading of it is that it's consistent with existing state requirements, including IDEM program generally not being more stringent than federal requirements, except as otherwise provided in state law or otherwise dictated. So I think that would be a situation where we have a provision that provides for that currently. It is my understanding, we're taking a closer look and maybe be able to get you a more fulsome answer. in conjunction
Because
with
for instance, if there was a petition to do rulemaking, that would probably be for something that's not on the Fed book, so. And my other suggestion when you're meeting with the powers that be, like Lee Zeldin, I remember asking, two commissioners ago, how many SIP approvals were outstanding. He didn't know the answer. And I think we should get SIP, amnesty. Because the rest of us, I mean, the air people, they know all the submissions that they made to EPA, but the regular people, even the board, don't know, so. SIP approval, SIP amnesty, yeah.
That's a great comment. I think we could probably follow up some more details between now and future meetings, but I think there's a number, and not all are created equal, same as anything else that's, are more impactful for us to wait. I do believe EPA is announcing something, maybe even as we speak, related to addressing the SIP backlog, which counts to the hundreds. And a lot of those emanate from states like California. We have a much smaller a list that EPA has not yet acted upon, but there are some very important ones that are important to Indiana that we need to get approved so it becomes both a federally enforceable state implementation plan. So we are, properly implementing our delegated program under the Clean Air Act. And so I think we can get you some more numbers there, but we'd love to talk further about how we approach it. And I like the idea of SIP amnesty as a concept.
Any other questions? Thank you, Commissioner. I'd like to call on Billy Franklin for rulemaking report.
Need you to. Oh, can you swear in, Lindy?
No. It comes in the next portion of it.
Did you?
Good afternoon, my name is Billy Franklin. I am Section Chief of Development, Legal Counsel. Currently, our next board meeting is tentatively scheduled for May 14th. At our next meeting, we anticipate presenting lead and copper amendment and coal combustion residual final adoption. And we are also planning on having NOx track preliminary adoption. That is all I have at this time. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Today we have hearings on the following regular rule actions. Preliminary adoption of lead and copper rule and final adoption of waste tire. As a reminder, if you wish to testify in any of today's hearings, please fill out a comment card and give it to Carla Kendrick. The sign-in table. The rules being considered at today's meeting were packets and available for inspection at the Office of Legal Counsel, 13th floor, Indiana Government Center North. The entire board packet is also available on IDEM's website at least 1 week prior to each board meeting. A transcript of today's meeting will be made. The transcript and any written submissions will be open for public inspection at the Office of Legal Counsel. A copy of the transcript will be posted on the rules page of the agency website when it becomes available. Will the official reporter please stand, raise your right hand, and state your name.
Wendy Meyer.
Do you solemnly affirm that you will keep complete and true notes of all that transpires and prepare a transcript thereof and faithfully perform all duties imposed upon you as an official reporter of the state?
Yeah.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the hearing for the adoption of the lead and copper rule. This is a public hearing for the Environmental Rules Board of the State of Indiana concerning preliminary adoption of lead and copper. I will now introduce Exhibit A, rule into the record. Crystal Hackney will present to this rule.
All right, good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Crystal Hackney. I'm a rule writer in the Office of Legal Counsel. I'll be presenting the drinking water reference updates, lead and copper rulemaking, LSA number 24-428 for preliminary adoption. US EPA published a final rule on January 15th of 2021, located at 86 FR 4198, to revise the lead and copper rule at 40 CFR 141. These revisions require all community water systems to conduct lead in drinking water testing in public education in schools and shelter facilities, as well as provide accelerated lead service line replacement. On June 16th of 2021, US EPA published an update to the lead and copper rule to delay the rule's effective date from January 16th of 2024 to October 16th of 2024. Items rulemaking amends to Indiana's drinking water rule to be consistent with the 2021. On October 30th of 2024, US EPA published a new final rule called the Lead and Copper Rule Improvement, known as LCRI. Items current rulemaking is only to update items rules to include the 2021 revision to the lead and copper, not the LCRI. Item will consider incorporation of the LCRI in a future rulemaking. This rulemaking also includes replacing the current full text language located in 327 IAC 8 with equivalent incorporation by reference to drinking water regulations. The purpose of this change is to ensure consistency and to allow for faster rule updates when the federal rules change. Lastly, this rulemaking also updates references to the recommended standards for waterworks and the American Water Works Association standards that are cited in 327 IAC 8 to the versions in place as of December 31st, 2023. By updating these standards to the more current editions, this rulemaking will ensure that the 327 IAC 8 is consistent with the design, engineering, and testing standards that public water systems are already implementing. Item requests preliminarily adopted this rule as presented. Program staff experts and I are available to answer any question which you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody that wishes to speak on this matter?
No.
Thank you. So this hearing is concluded. Board will now consider preliminary adoption of the lead and copper.
I have one comment. I talked with Crystal earlier about some of the formatting on a repealed rule, so I asked her to double check that the board, the language is.
Thank you. Anyone? So we need a motion to preliminarily present it. Second. Motion and a second. This is a roll call vote. Mr. Davidson? Yes. Dr. Nemec?
Yes, I will mention, though, that I will have some comments about the actual regulatory analysis later, but my vote is yes.
Thank you. Mr. Warren? Mr. Zaire? Ms. Nelson?
Aye.
Mr. Eckert? Aye. Mr. Mueller?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Alexandrovich?
Yes.
Ms. Kozerski?
Yes.
Mr. Ketzenberg?
Yes.
The chair votes aye. 12 ayes, no nays. Rule is preliminary. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing before the Environmental Rules Board of the State of Indiana concerning final adoption of the waste tire financial assurance rule. I'll now introduce Exhibit B, the final rule, into the record of the hearing. Dan Watts will present this rule.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. Dan Watts, the Rules Development Section. I'm presenting LSA Document 24-322 for final adoption. Item is proposing updates to the waste tire management rules to be consistent with recent statutory changes for waste tire definitions and financial assurance for waste tire facilities. The rulemaking is limited to rule amendments that are directly related to these statutory changes and other amendments to comply with the administrative rules draft standards. The specific rule changes include an update to the definition of use tire to reference the amended statutory definition and the addition of corporate financial test as another financial service option for waste tire storage sites. The General Assembly enacted statutory authority for this financial assurance option, and item has proposed detailed rulings that's based on the federal financial test in 40 CFR 258.74E. These changes also are meant to conform with Indiana's rules, drafting standards, and make the financial test applicable to the waste tire storage site as that better financial test is designed for solid waste disposal rather than waste tires. Representatives from IDEM are available to answer any questions you may have about this rulemaking, and the department requests that the board adopt this rule so Indiana's waste tire program can be consistent with these recent statutory updates for waste tire management.
Any questions? Thank you. Do we have any speaker cards?
No, sir.
Thank you. This hearing is concluded. The board will now consider final adoption of the waste tire financial assurance rule. Is there any board discussion? Saying none, we need a motion for final adoption of the rule as presented.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second. Second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. This will be a voice vote. Mr. Davidson? Yes. Dr. Neiman?
Yes.
Mr. Warren? Yes. Mr. Zaire? Yes. Ms. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Mueller?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Alexandrovich?
Yes.
Ms. Kozerski?
Yes.
Mr. Ketzenberger? Yes. The chair votes aye. So that's 12 ayes, no nays. The rule is finally adopted. Thank you. Concludes the items on the agenda. This is an open forum. Is there anyone that wishes to address the board today? Does the board have anything that they would like to bring forward? So the next board meeting of the Environmental Rules Board is tentatively set for May 14th, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. Say room A, the Indiana Government Center. Look forward to seeing you. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved. This is Ted Nemec.
A second? Second. Voice vote? In favor? Motion. Meeting is adjourned.